Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This podcast is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, our internet reliance is increasing, from talking to loved ones, to streaming your favourite shows, to watching any of the podcasts here on Stretford Paddock. And with that increased footprint, so does our need for proper internet security. And Surfshark is a VPN service that encrypts your data, which stops anyone unwanted from seeing it. Another great thing about Surfshark is it allows you to see all of the great content from around the world. Simply sign in to Brazil and check out their Netflix. You can watch Croatian Amazon Prime. And when you're on holiday, you can still watch all of your shows from back home simply by changing it to your home nation. It is that simple. And currently Surfshark have an amazing deal. By clicking the link in the description and using our code Paddock, you can get a whole 3 months extra for free. That is 3 months extra for free. In addition, Surfshark also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, use that link in the description and use the code Paddock for 3 months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Fabrizio Romano says Mason Mount's medical was fine and successfully completed. Waiting for Manchester United announcement. Some lovely emojis there, like this little star. Well, 3 stars together in a little red circle. Mount's expected to share his goodbye message to Chelsea. Then Manchester United will unveil Mount as their first summer signing.
There we go. Is my mic working as well now? Beautiful. That's exactly what we wanted, isn't it? Yeah, the only thing missing is the picture with Mount, the quote from him, the quote from Ten Hag. But it looks as though, rumour has it, or the rumours last night were that this is going to be announced today. We know he was at Carrington yesterday. I think he's at Carrington again today, based on leaked tweets, leaked images, this, that and the other. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? We've got a video coming out tonight with Stephen Howson as well.
Someone was saying in the chat, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, you did, so you meant to.
Someone was talking about the fact that Steve's not been on the channel for a little while. Well, he's on today.
Exactly.
Don't you worry about that.
7.
Philip Lopez has been a member of the Academy for 31 months, says, it was my birthday yesterday, so hopefully we get some good news on some signings. Yes, happy belated birthday to you. Also, Asim Baymandaf says, sack Ethan for the bad audio. Yeah, but he's done a little tongue emoji there, so he's only joking. William Acco says, random Q from Arsenal fan. Would you be happy with City being stripped of the Premier League title if guilty of 115 charges would mean no treble, but Arsenal win the Premier League?
Well, presumably then...
Are all these charges only valid for last season?
And also, none of them are about last season. So I don't know where that comes from. If City are being stripped of titles and the person who finished second are getting them, we're getting more than Arsenal. So yeah, I'd absolutely take that, obviously.
We finished second a couple of times, haven't we?
Twice,
yeah. Once under Ole,
yeah.
Once under Jose Mourinho. I don't think that's going to happen, though. You can but dream, but I think they'll get a slap on the wrist and a bit of a fine. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to see it happen, love to see him get punished, but it ain't. So I think we can just all forget about that, even though it is rather amusing.
Do you think we're going to get an exciting announcement for Mount? Because if you noticed, since the sort of... When was the last one? Obviously, Sanchez was the one everyone remembers. With
the one that ruined everything for everyone.
Yeah. Obviously, there was the Pogba-Stormzy crossover. There was Sanchez playing the piano. Was that the last big one we did, Sanchez? Because it was seen as a sort of an era of gluttony and greed, wasn't it? The finer excesses, or the greatest excesses of Manchester United Football Club, with him playing the piano and then being the worst signing we've ever had. Yeah. And since then, I don't know if you've noticed this, the signings are a lot more subdued now on social media. Yeah. It's often, if it's not a big money signing, it'll even, like Malacia, it'll just be United announced Malacia, and it'll be a picture of him in black and white, and then this.
I've got a great idea.
Go on.
For a video. You can have Mason Mount sat home watching the telly, watching John Terry miss his penalty against us in the Champions League final, and he starts laughing his head off, takes off his Chelsea shirt, burns it, pisses on the ashes, and then puts the United one on.
Burns it, pisses on the ashes, rolls them into a ball, stuffs that ball of ashes somewhere, you can imagine, and then he puts United shirt on.
Then he puts United shirt on while shouting, John Terry, you racist, whatever. Yeah. That would be the perfect announcement for me.
That's quite good, actually.
Yeah, because that'd be a nice... That'd do 2 things as well. It would give him the chance to do his goodbye message. Yeah.
It's a sort of goodbye and hello message all at once, isn't it?
Exactly. Listen, he could give the nicest goodbye message to Chelsea fans. He's going to get booed. He's going to get trolled.
Isn't it stupid that he's going to... I mean, I don't know, but he's an academy player, isn't he? He came through the academy.
Yes.
He's played well for Chelsea. I think if you look over the last 6 years or whatever it is, since he made his debut, he's played more games, scored more goals, made more assists, played more minutes, like loads of all the sort of the big stats. He's done all of it more than anyone else at Chelsea since he made his debut.
Yeah.
He hasn't like kicked up a fuss. No. The reason basically he's got to leave is because they've spent so carelessly over the last 12 months that they have to sell players.
On dross.
And yet you're going to boo him.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally doing the club a favour by leaving. Why are you mad at him?
Come on, no.
What?
That's not it right.
It's not United player.
Yeah, no, like, there's two things ways to look at it. For starters, Chelsea fans booed Rio Ferdinand because his brother got racially abused by their captain, right? So it's pretty safe to say they're not exactly shy of booing players irrelevant
or booing people on trains.
Yeah, booing people. Yeah, exactly. So the chance of them not booing someone who's gone to a rival, when a lot of Chelsea fans rate him and want him to stay, it's guaranteed. It shows a day's long. And to be honest with you, I kind of get it. I think if we had a player like Marcus, who similar thing, come through the academy, has been top scorer, has been at the top end of all our stats in terms of, and he's not always been the most productive, but one of the most productive in terms of goals and assists. He's helped us win trophies. If he went, right, guys, I've done so many years here. I've been here since I was a kid. I've done me 10 years, whatever, at Manchester United. I'm going to go to Chelsea now because, you know, you've bought Anthony, you've bought Sancho, you don't need me. Would we not boo him?
But I think if Rashford had have left for PSG or whatever, I know the Chelsea factors are different.
Yeah.
At the end of last season, when he was rumoured to leave, when a lot of people were sort of going, oh, he's past it, he's injured, he's not very good, he had a bad year. I don't think he would have got booed if he played PSG.
PSG is different though, isn't it? There's no hatred from PSG. There's no real ag with PSG.
No,
you're playing once every few years.
Yeah, getting booed, fuck it.
Do you know what I mean? Listen,
boo him.
And also, let's not pretend that ex-player gets booed by fans is a big deal.
No. Do you know what annoys me?
Go on.
When a player, like if we play against Chelsea and every time he touches the ball he gets booed, and then he scores a goal for United and he goes, sorry.
Yeah.
If you're booing me all game and I score against my former team, unless it's Man United, I am. Come on.
Do you know what
straight into the away fans.
The worst booing I saw last season was, remember when Tyrone Malacia went in on Alex Iwobi?
Yeah.
And Iwobi got injured, didn't he? It was an innocuous challenge, but he got stretched off. And I stand near the tunnel, and he got stretched off Iwobi, and everyone was booing him and shouting "you scouts," whatever at him. And I thought, why? Like, he's being stretched off.
Literally injured. Boo, you're injured.
He's not exactly offensive, is it, Iwobi? I ain't got no dramas with him.
Let's add insult to
everyone's
injury.
giving him pelters, and I thought, you don't know the guy, that could be career ending for all we know. He's been stretched off. It just seemed ridiculously harsh.
Do you know my most harsh booing? And you were there as well. The under-18s FA Cup final. When United played, they played against Norwich or someone, Forest. United were playing Forest last season, and their Forest players were getting booed. You're like, he's 15. They're all kids. Literally, by definition, these are all children. And when the ball was going, boo.
I love that.
Kids.
They need a harsh lesson.
Yeah.
That's the problem with these youngsters today. Too soft, too woke.
Good.
Hey, that's what they need. A bit of booing, that's probably made them better players now. Yeah. They'll all be ready for the resilience, got the resilience you need to progress in life. And it made me laugh that as well, because I was right near the away fans for that one. And there was a young lad he's about 18, 9, lost his head, kicking off with the United fans, going for us and everything, and it was just getting laughed at. Yeah. And then the stewards had to sort of take him home and tuck him in bed probably, because it was like, come on son, you've had one too many shandies. Loads of people in the comments, I'll get into it. Lockstock says, I'd boo a toddler even.
Good.
Ross Murphy says kids need to know what they're going in for. Yeah, I agree. Colin Couple.
But at what age does that start? You don't just boo a 3-year-old.
I booed my children on when they've been delivered.
Booing the mum and the kid.
Boo!
Yeah, boo!
Boo!
Booing them they're in the little jaundice unit. Boo!
They're in the what unit?
Little jaundice unit.
Why would they be in a little jaundice unit?
Because sometimes babies have jaundice. And what the suggestion I'm making is, even a child who was born just hours ago, who now has a very sort of minor liver ailment, is still getting booed by their own dad.
That's the last time I share my kid's personal medical history with you. Colin Coupleditch says, Joe just made me spit out my coffee with laughter. He's a funny guy when he's not trolling my children. Adam Jones says...
That was you that said that about booing your own kids as they were born.
I didn't say they had jaundice.
Well, they could have.
Adam Jones said Chelsea booing Varane for getting injured before the World Cup. We just do, don't we? We love a bit of booing. Yeah. And let's have it right. It's not, there's certain things when you think, what are you booing that for?
Like the bloke in front of his telly when people were taking the knee. Do you remember that
That's
guy?
a funny way to describe Ethan.
Do you remember that? I know it was just blatant racism.
That was the archetype, like, this is why you don't see the kids anymore.
Because it was also the most, like, COVID moment ever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because no one could go to games. It was an empty stadium, people taking the knee, and just a fat, white, bald, most sort of, like, right-wing BNP looking bloke you could ever conjure in your head, stood in front of his TV, not even in the ground, booing. Who's hearing it?
Yeah.
You're in your own fucking living room, mate.
Like,
Just the stupidest, thickest shit of all time.
I know it was like John like that. I would love to have walked past his window then and just looked in and seen a grown man who's about 50 in his like undies with his England shirt on his knee, boo, to his phone. And I'd be like, what is this? Do you know what I mean? Get the popcorn out, let's watch this utter madness. Loads of people in the comments, make sure if you're not doing already, you are hitting that like button. Let's get to 1,000 likes, right? I think we can do this. 1,000 likes, we appreciate all your support. Right, let's talk about the next story. Mason Mount, he's going to be unveiled any second now, so as soon as he is, we'll let you know.
Yeah, let's go to Onana, because there's been
this has got your name written all over it, all this text.
Right, what's this?
Whose is this one? I love the fact that Callum's just said it's Ethan's. Ethan, is this yours?
Yeah. What is that? Explain yourself. Onana.
Say it with your chest out. Come on, son.
Onana, what's your price? What's that?
Onana, what's your price? Yeah. So, Onana, what's your price? Yeah? See, after the zenith of the Ain't No Mount Been High Enough last week, I think we've reached the, what is it, the nadir, is it? Nadir, thank you. Of this. I don't know about this. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's Rihanna, isn't it?
Right.
The original.
Yeah. Onana, what's your price?
Actually, the more you say it,
yeah,
it kind of.
Yeah.
The more you say it, the more I like it.
Yeah.
Supposedly, this is
people saying they're booing that title.
People have stood in front of the YouTube videos booing now, Ethan.
I like it, Ethan. I think you've done a good job.
Yeah. So this is coming out of Italy. I think. Do you remember Di Marzio?
What happened to him?
Around the time.
He's like the MySpace of the transfer gurus.
Yeah, there was a few at that time. There was. Go on. Anything at the time?
A super chat.
Go on.
There's a few. It's a super chat. You've got to read it out.
Read it out then.
Jamie Gillespie has been a member of the Academy for 13 months. Thanks for your support. He says, what time is Joe due back on Cell Block H? Doesn't even make any sense. I love it when you say that. It doesn't make sense.
No one wears like double denim in jail. That's not a thing. Like Wrangler denim.
I'm trying to think. It's been a while. No,
it's not.
No, I don't think. No, you can. Yeah, you do.
Oh, get out of it.
You can.
Yeah, so it was around the Craig Norwood era, wasn't
Norwood,
it?
my pal.
Yeah, your Di Marzios, your Norwoods, this sort of
breaking the internet
years
with
ago,
one little tweet.
These were your breaking news gurus before the likes of the Romanos and the Ornsteins came in. But he's been saying that Manchester United have made a bid for around 35 to 40 million euros, 35 million pounds for Onana. We'll go through it here. United looks set to be priced out of a move for Andre Onana after after Inter Milan rejected their opening bid. I mean, that's taking a bit of a big step, isn't it? Set to be priced out when we've just had one bid rejected. That's not. I think they're jumping the guns like that. United are in need of a new number one this summer after De Gea's £375,000 a week contract expired. United have held talks with Onana's representatives, and Ten Hag knows him well from their time together at Ajax. However, their chance of landing the Cameroon international appears slim, with reports in Italy stating their opening offer has been pushed back into value the 27-year-old at around £60 million, a price United simply cannot afford to pay. And I think a price United would be stupid to pay, to be honest. He's not worth 60 million quid. That's just stupid.
Do you think it is?
Yeah.
The only reason I slightly disagree is I don't know a lot about him, but I know the fact that if he's going to be our number one goalkeeper, then 60 million is probably what you got to pay for him. Like, this is obviously a player who will play all the games, I presume, and it is a vital position, goalkeeper. So we pay 60 million for people that are in and out of the team, and I think 60 million for someone who not only is going to play the game, is vital, and he's going to change the way we play in terms of we'll be able to play the way we want to play, because we want to play out the back, which is exactly what he does. So I kind of get it. You're right. It is a lot for a 27-year-old who, not that long ago was being released, and he's had issues as well in the past, and he failed a drug test. Yeah, so I get it. I understand what you mean, but I think 60 million for someone who could make such a big difference to Manchester United, it's about right for me, that. In a way, I know that's kind of contradictory, but I think the problem is not that. I don't mind it that much. Is what I'm getting at.
I think the problem with 60 million is it puts him. What would that be? The third most expensive keeper ever.
We love just breaking his records. Don't we? Like everything, the most expensive defender, the most expensive youngster, or whatever, the most expensive. We're always up there, the most expensive Premier League players.
On the list.
Like top 10 is just littered with United.
I think it would put him behind Kepa and Alisson as the most expensive keeper ever.
Kepa was just ridiculous.
Kepa was a bit of a stinker. Obviously, Alisson's been excellent, but I think for 60 million quid, you're expecting one of the best keepers in the world, aren't you? Rather than someone who, could be better than what we've got now, or it should be better than what we've got now, but also not guaranteed.
I just think as well, United have made a rod for our own back. We've paid €100 million, well, up to €100 million for Anthony.
I know.
Up to €37 million for Amad Diallo when he played 55 minutes of professional football. I think we have this reputation of just, United come calling, they've got money, they'll spend money. And because it's obviously a player that Erik ten Hag wants, I can see why Inter are going like this. The interesting thing is, though, United, I think, have started leaking stories, haven't they, that we're in for Kevin Trapp from, Frankfurt, and Justin Bilo from Feyenoord. I don't know where that's going. I think Feyenoord have already said, forget about Bilo, he's not going, or Bilo, I don't know how to pronounce it, isn't going anywhere. Kevin Trapp one, I don't know what the current situation is with that, but it's interesting that we're making noises that, look, if we can't get Onana, it's not him or bust.
No.
This isn't as we need to get him, or we're going all out for him like we were with Anthony or Martinez to a lesser degree. This is he's our top priority or top target, but we've got two others on the list, which kind of makes think Inter Milan may think, okay, then maybe we take the 45, 50 million for him rather than 60. Loads of comments to get through, so please do get involved in the chat. Hit that like button as well. 3,000 people watching. We've not got to 1,000 likes, so come on, you can do it, people. Brian Casey says, Joe is starting up a Bewitched tribute band. Audition start at 4:30. Do you remember Bewitched? Was it before your time? Yeah.
See will.
C'est la vie and all that. Yeah,
yeah, big time. People say I look like my dad. That's the opening line to C'est la vie.
Is it really?
If you watch the YouTube video.
People say...
No, she's not singing it.
Oh, right, I was trying to put it into
people say I look like my dad.
Really?
For some reason, that's the start of it.
Really?
Just saying it like that, and then it goes into the...
How bizarre. Yeah. Ozzy Gamola, who's been a member of the Academy for 12 months, says, Joe just missing the hat for his casting role in the sequel to Brokeback Mountain.
I knew that was coming, very good.
I can see that. I haven't seen that film. It's about cowboys and all like that.
You haven't seen it. You never stopped watching it.
If I watched it, I'd be proud to say I've watched Brokeback Mountain because I'm a film connoisseur, but I haven't...
Why have you not seen it?
I don't know. I don't like cowboy films. They're a bit other than Unforgiven. That's class.
310 to Yuma, you like that?
310. No, is that the one Russell Crowe and Christian Bale?
You seen that?
No.
True Grit, you like that?
Yeah, I did. That was all right. Yeah, that was. It's Coen Brothers, isn't it? You can't go wrong. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a go. It's just about some cowboys and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. Jamie Gillespie says, oh no, sorry, I've read that one. Ethan O'Connor says, if Amrabat gets in, Mason Mount pushes left midfielder.
I don't love the idea of Amrabat, to be honest.
Okay. Hail to the Greek. We'll get into why you don't like it. The geek, says, the start of this video is more disappointing than the Australians' cricket etiquette. Glazers out.
Nice.
Sam Z says, why can't we get in on the Saudi sales? Martial and Fred seem like the profile of players they would buy for 15 to 20 million.
That? What's that about? Why is everyone else's players going to Saudi and none of ours are? Not that I necessarily want it, but it's a bit odd, isn't it? We've got some players who, like De Gea, could not tick the box more. Huge name across world football.
Yeah.
End of his contract. Give him loads of money. You could even just match the numbers he's on now, and he'd probably move. Why he seems like they'd be all over him, and they're not. I don't understand it.
James John says Django Unchained. That's a slavery film, but cowboy type film. Yeah, very.
Oh,
very
I have
good.
seen that. Is that the Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, Jamie Foxx one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Saudis are spending a bit of cash, and if we can get rid of some players, great. I think some of these players, though, might feel because no disrespect to Saudi Arabia, it's not exactly the best league in terms of competition. I mean, it's got Steven Gerrard managing there, for God's sake. So they might feel like...
Not just managing, but speaking the language.
Really? What was that?
It was flawless.
What was he doing?
Beautiful.
And why did he film it like that?
And
why
also,
was he like this?
And also, why was he so shiny?
Yeah, it was just like
shiny.
it was like a birthday message from someone who's levered out their head in a pub at like 11:30 at night.
I know I said a beer at 11 p.m.
I say, we've had our problems, but I still love you, you're my brother.
Yeah.
Like, what was it?
It was Mrs. Sorry.
Sort it out. Like, get a grip. So maybe we can start shifting someplace Saudi, but I think the likes of Martial, Fred, McTominay, Maguire, the main players that we're sort of being linked with moving on, will still fancy their chances of playing in one of Europe's top leagues, maybe staying in the Premier League if they want, or Martial might want to go back to France. France isn't a top 5 league anymore, is it? I read somewhere.
Bullshit that.
Is that what is it? I didn't read it properly.
It's nonsense. It was saying that the Belgian league is ranked higher than the French league based on 1 year's worth of like UEFA coefficients, and also just it's not, is it? The Belgian league isn't a bigger league than the French league, but I don't know what metrics they were using. But I know that the ones that they were using was from one season, not from the last sort of 5 years or whatever, like the UEFA used. So it is still the top 5 league.
Right, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just read a tweet or some sort of graphic that was
bullshit.
the French league has dropped out of the top 5. I didn't even know.
Also, what is it? What is that based on? The top 5? Is it based on income? Is it based on spending? Is it based on games won across Europe? Is it based on like what? What is it based on? I didn't think it was an actual thing. I thought it was just an understanding and an opinion. When's the last time a Belgian team won the Champions League? When's the last time a Belgian team got to the final?
What are the top 5 leagues when we talk about top 5 leagues?
Premier League, La Liga, Serie A in Italy, Ligue 1 in France, and Bundesliga.
All right, okay.
So they're the top 5.
Do you think like...
No,
maybe Holland could have a shout.
I think
again,
Holland and Portugal got a better shout than Belgium.
Yeah, because like the Dutch league is quite competitive, and they've got some good standards of teams in there, haven't we?
Yeah, team got to the Champions League semi-final. Ajax a couple of seasons ago, got to Europa League final as well. That same Ajax team.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, this isn't meant to be a dig at Belgium, but you can't tell me that PSG team isn't enough to take the Ligue 1 into a top 5 league. Even by itself, there's nothing even remotely approaching that in Belgium. What are we on about?
Yeah, I know.
It was just I think it was just bullshit to get clicks, to be honest.
Talking of yes, bullshit to get clicks. What's next?
That's a coincidence. Joel Bayer and Rio Ferdinand teased a major takeover update is to be announced today. Now, this was on the YouTube channel 5, which is, we're messing about obviously, but this isn't the first time we've seen this either, is it? A couple of weeks ago now, when was it? 2-3 weeks ago?
He did that thing on the train, like he was just about to get on the train, and by the time the train journey had finished, the bid had been done or something.
He sort of was saying
he was like
imminent in the coming days, and that was now, like I said, weeks ago.
And he said even hours, didn't he? He said days, even maybe
talking
even hours.
Talking about Qatar basically winning the bid. Then we saw Joel Bayer and Rio yesterday sat down, saying the same thing again. And you see there, Joel saying there's definitely some takeover news happening. I know you can't say too much for whatever reason. We spoke off air. Even from someone that's not in it as much as you, I'm hearing some big things happening tomorrow. And then Ferdinand says, I was talking to Ornstein as well. He's got good knowledge as well, but we've got good sources. So obviously it's still tomorrow. So it's not, we're getting toward the end of the working day, but announcements happen in the evening. Maybe there's something to go at here. It's interesting that none of the other sort of big journalists have hinted at this. But again, he's, Rio and his connections are quite possibly slightly more casual and more relaxed than, let's just as a guess, let's say Rio Ferdinand's connection is John Murtagh, right? Just, pulling that out of the air, that's not true. And let's say David Ornstein also has John Murtagh's number.
Yeah.
Or Darren Fletcher or someone, probably a better example, because they play together, he works at United. So let's say it's that. The way that Darren Fletcher speaks to Rio Ferdinand is going to be massively different to the way he speaks to David Ornstein. Yeah. So it's possible he could know something on a slightly, I don't have to announce it the way I would to a journalist. I can be a bit more friendly, casual. Oh, honestly, it's happening tomorrow. And then maybe it doesn't. Maybe it will, but it's just a strange one. Like the second time as well that we've seen sort of Rio come out and say, basically, in the next 24 hours, we'll hear that Qatar has won. And we haven't yet, so slightly odd. What do you think?
I take it with a pinch of salt. I love Rio Ferdinand, obviously. Fantastic player, club legend. He's been on this channel a few times. He's a good guy. And, you know, he has got connections at the club. Obviously, we know that. It wasn't that long ago, it was a few years ago. He got interviewed for being the director of football. Like you say, there's ex-teammates who are heavily involved in the running of Manchester United, the coaching staff. So he's going to have connections there. He's probably got connections with the players as well. I don't know if they'll know anything. But the fact we're not hearing this anywhere else, and Joel Bayer's saying that Joel's got sources, and yet no one's really saying too much, because usually something like this would send the internet into a frenzy. Other people would be checking their sources, someone else would go, actually, I've heard this. And yet all the big hitters, I know he's mentioned Ornstein, but Ornstein, as far as I know, hasn't said anything himself. All the big hitters have sort of played the cards close to the chest. And it was the same a few weeks ago when we had this sort of explosion on social media about the stock price going up and the Qataris, reports out of Qatar that had been successful. If you actually looked at the journalists who were tweeting, no one who you would think was tier one was sticking the neck out and going, this is happening. People were just saying, this is being tweeted, this is the stock price, this could mean this or it could mean something else. No one was saying, actually, I'm hearing something.
And just to something in the defence of Rio, because, you know, we're sort of semi-joking a little bit, but, you know, back to the Ronaldo transfer, we saw how that all unfolded. And we saw Rio Ferdinand tweeted about that, was it 11 o'clock in the morning, with the eyes emoji talking about Man City and all that, because they thought they were going to sign him. And then it was another 3 hours until the rest of the you know, the Ornsteins, the Romanos, all of those journalists. It was hours later until they got it. So he definitely has sources. He definitely has.
No one at the Ronnie thing, because he was directly contacted.
Well, of course, but what I'm saying is, it's not as though Rio is someone that you can just out of hand say, we don't know what he's on about. You know, he's connected in football. You know, I'm not sure of his connections.
I think the thing with this is
someone to listen to, obviously.
Like Rio Ferdinand listening, this is the thing that sort of threw me. There's definitely some takeover news, but even from someone that's not in it as much as you, I am hearing some big things happening tomorrow. Who's Joel Bayer's sources? How's he hearing anything? Because I can get the Rio Ferdinand argument that he's got connections in the club. I don't think Joel Bayer has, as far as I know. I don't know Joel that well. I know him, you know.
There were some rumours on Twitter, weren't there? But I don't know if.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm taking it with a pinch of salt. No disrespect to the lads, but I'm not about to start, you know, hanging my hat on the idea that he's done.
The thing at the minute is, it does seem as though, I think we sort of said this yesterday. But it does seem as though we're drifting towards it being Qatar, doesn't it? I've not seen a reputable journalist. You know, a lot of reputable journalists don't comment on odds or who's feeling most confident or this, that, and the other. A lot of them just stay out of it entirely. But of the reputable journalists that I've seen, you know, putting their neck on the line as to who they think is in the lead, it seems to be all Qatar at the minute, doesn't it? You know, it's either someone isn't saying anything or they're saying Qatar seem confident. Do you know what I mean? So it feels as though that's the way this is heading, but it's just, you know, a matter of time, and we'll see if Jim Ratcliffe has any later bids or any changes of heart from the Glazers, and, you know, something turns around.
He's got a bit of stick for this, Rio. I've seen him getting a bit of stick on. He's been getting some stick on the comments. Can we watch the comments as well, please? Yeah, so we'll wait and see, but I mean, it's one of those as well. You might have someone that's told you that, and you might turn around and go, actually, they were wrong, or it's changed. I mean, no, I don't think anyone really knows anything, mate. Yeah. Honestly, plus there's all NDAs and all that. Come on, do you know what I mean? Like, if one person's leaked it to Joel Bayer, then that person could have leaked it to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, let's be realistic here. I don't see it myself. It might be true, but I think it could be true almost as a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, Qatar a favoured bid. One day they're going to announce it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
If you look at the people involved, you're looking at the Glazers, you look at the Qatar bid, you look at Jim Ratcliffe. All three of these people are hugely wealthy. Or three of these sets of people are hugely wealthy, hugely versed and well versed in taking businesses over and deals, and typically, you know, we can speak from first-hand experience with the Glazers, not really ones for coming out to the press, leaking stuff, you know, and being particularly transparent with things. So, like you said, I would be surprised if, you know, they're going all out and saying, you know, speaking to anyone saying, yeah, we're going to have the club, we're going to have it. It seems like they're all quite secretive. Whoever's going to own it, whether Glazers keep it, whether they sell it, it all feels like these people aren't going to be, you know, spreading shit left, right and centre. So I'd be surprised if anyone really knows at the minute.
Good vibes, John. John Shin, who we all love, says, it's July the 4th, a US holiday. So no news for sure as markets are closed.
Happy Independence Day.
Well, this is what he's going to say. He said also, Joe, wishing you a happy 4th, my fellow American.
Yeah, thank you very much. Are people not saying Happy Independence Day anymore? Is that slightly antiquated? I see a lot of Happy 4th. I see a lot of Happy 4th of July, but I'm not seeing the phrase Independence Day anymore.
I don't even know why we're celebrating that in this country, to be honest with you. It's a disgrace that you lot decided you didn't want to be part of the empire. It doesn't matter with you, but you still want to speak English. Hey, taking a mick. Whitterbird says 3.5k is watching, but only 582 likes. Let's get to 700. Good point. Summeet's full.
Lovely.
Says Joe getting trolled and roasted to bits here. Love it. Ha 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 ha. No, sorry, it's not funny. Sorry, I read that one out. It was.
What you read that for?
I don't know. It wasn't even a super chat, so I've got no excuse.
You didn't have to read it out.
No, I didn't. Sorry, I thought it was something nicer.
Well, then what are they saying about me then if it's so troll and roasting?
I've not seen anything troll and roasting.
Really? Yeah, you're hiding me from it, Jay.
No, I'm not. You know me. I love reading
You're
out.
putting the wool over my eyes, man.
I think he's getting it wrong. I think it's Joel. Joel's been getting a bit of grief. So I think it's not you, it's Joel Bayer who's been getting a bit of stick because people are saying, how's he know what's going on? I don't know, he might do. I just, personally, don't believe anything until I see facts.
Speaking of facts,
go on.
Kieran Maguire, friend of the channel, football finance expert, has been talking about United's FFP issues. Yeah. So we're all interested, we're all obsessed with Man United's transfer budget this summer. And Kieran Maguire has done his best to try and outline and lay out some of the facts and the figures that are going into United's transfer kitty. And I'm going to read you the following. Kieran Maguire said, some have contacted me regarding why FFP issues, given the Premier League limit is 105 million losses over 3 years. That's not quite the case. The limit is 15 million losses plus up to 90 million in equity investment by the owners. The Glazer family have put in 0 million in those 3 years, so allowable loss is still 15 million. United LBO model also means that the club is paying out interest, which is not exempt from FFP, and so this further constrains spending limits. Having said that, the club does still have capacity to buy this summer. One area where United have a poor record is in player sales, where profits go directly into FFP calculations. Chelsea have generated 5.3 million for every 1 million of player sales made by Manchester United over the last decade. So basically, Chelsea are earning 5 times more than us in player sales, and the other takeaway, in case you didn't know it, the Glazers have put in fuck all into the club, which is why we've got so little to spend. You see here player sales. In terms of profits, I don't think it's profit as in net profit. I think it's literally just how much we've made from selling players, because we're certainly not in 132
no
million
chance
net profit.
Whatsoever.
This is just general sales, not profits against purchases. United there at the bottom of the sort of quote-unquote top 6. Chelsea made 705 million, but they've also spent, maybe not the most in that entire 9 years, but certainly in the last 12 months have spent a ludicrous amount. Liverpool have sold 386 million worth of players, Spurs 356, City 329, Arsenal 317, and United a pitiful, genuinely pitiful 132 million in 9 years. We're averaging 15 million quid a season in sales. That's just shit, isn't it? Like, look, I mean, this might be dodgy anyway, but City are looking to sell their 3rd or 4th choice keeper to Burnley for 20 million quid.
It's mad, isn't it?
That might be Burnley, Vincent Kompany, but I don't necessarily think Burnley are so enamoured with Vincent Kompany that they're willing to let him do a favour to his old club for some reason and way overpay. You would think if anyone was going to do anyone a favour, it would be City doing Burnley a favour. I don't see what Burnley have got to gain by paying over the odds for a City keeper. I just think they're better at negotiating than we are.
Yeah, I think there's a big thing going on. Like, City are obviously in a good position as well, because when you're a successful club, you can sell your fringe players, your academy players that aren't even getting near your team for more. Because people go, well, okay, he's part of this squad or whatever, or he's part of this club. He's not getting in the first team, but why would he?
Of course he isn't.
Yeah. You know, we used to do it. We used to sell players, like Danny Higginbottom for 5 million or whatever, and players that were barely kicked a ball for United, but they come through the academy. They'd had a few appearances. I know this keeper you're talking about hasn't, but they'd had a few appearances. Then other Premier League clubs would want him, because you think, okay, they might not be good enough for United, but they'd be good enough for us. Yeah. So you'd get him in. United at the minute as well, almost every signing we've made has had a sort of short-termism to it. So when we've come to sell them on, they're not worth what they were when we bought them. You know, we don't tend to buy the 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I know we have done now and again, but a lot of our signings are like mid-20s, big money. So when you go and try and move them on, like Lukaku, for example, prime example, you know, what was it, 79 million, 2 seasons at the club, not very successful, did okay, not great. So you take a loss. Di Maria, if you took a loss on.
Well, the especially good point about those two is, those two are numbers 2 and 3 on United's record ever sales as well.
Yeah.
Lukaku at 65 million and Di Maria, I think we got 48 million for him.
Something like
that. They are number 2 and 3 highest ever sales behind Ronaldo, and they were still both losses. Do you know what I mean? You know, we can sell players for 65 million and still lose 10 million on them. No one else is doing that.
No.
And the other thing to bear in mind, and this is sort of getting in the weeds a little bit, but when we look back over the Glazer era and the Woodward era, one of the reasons why this number is the way it is and this United's number is so low in comparison to all these other clubs is because we went from having a policy where if you're over a certain age, you get given a 1-year deal. If you're over 30, you get a 1-year deal. And that applies to Scholes, to Giggs, to Gary Neville, whoever you are, because we know that you aren't going to get any money back for that player and you need to be assessed on a season-by-season basis. We gave Matic, I think, 2 contracts after the age of 30.
Yeah.
We gave Eric Bailly, who isn't past 30, but who barely played for United for the last 5 years, we gave him 2 contracts in the space of 18 months because we saw it more fitting to put the value of the player against their contract rather than against their ability. So someone like Eric Bailly, who in the market is worth 4 million quid, we can say, well, he's got a 5-year deal. And that deal is worth 25 million quid. So this asset is worth 25 million quid. So what we would do is put, you know, value of contract against the player rather than the player's quality, which means when you go to sell him, no one's going to pay anything for him. Because you've got a 5-year deal on too much money, who's going to buy him for anything? United wait too long to sell players. We sign contracts for players who are past the age of 30 or who aren't even in the first team, people getting new contracts. And then you wonder why we can't sell anyone for anything. Imagine trying to sell David De Gea last summer. Or what's he on, 375 grand a week?
Yeah.
Who's buying him? No one is buying him.
Not worth it.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Not. It's just, you know, I was having this sort of discussion earlier on today on my live, on my transfer news this morning, on the paper talk this morning, talking about Marcus' new deal. Saying like, oh, I think he's been offered 275k. And then some people talk to Twitter, he's not worth that, why are you paying him that? But if his teammates are on that, and they're not playing as well as he is, he's going to expect that. Yeah. You can't turn around and go, well, I'll get less than my teammate who isn't doing as well as I am, just because I love United or I've come through the academy. You're going to expect parity with your teammates, rightly or wrongly. His teammates are being overpaid, but then other players want that. So you always mention it, and you're right, when Alexis Sanchez came in and we gave him that big deal, everyone who looked around who was on big money, like Pogba and De Gea, went, well, why is he on?
De Gea's the perfect example.
Big money. I want that.
We gave Sanchez, like you're saying, 400 grand a week, whatever it is, 300 grand a week, plus very easily achievable add-ons. And then De Gea, who was our best player at the time, went, well, I want to be on that.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then now, 4 years later, we've got David De Gea still on that deal. It's just expired 3 days ago. We currently don't have a goalkeeper. We've got a keeper who now we want to pay him half of what he was on 2 weeks ago because we fucked up 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's all just complete crap. And then this is what happens. This is the sort of, you know, as the years go on, these things get exaggerated. And you look over the last 9 years, Chelsea have made, 5 times more than us in sales. It's so obvious. It's so sort of naive and narrow-minded from United to think that this was a system that could ever work long-term. Because you buy players for too much money, you give them too much money, you can't sell them. That is so lopsided, it's not even funny. Yeah. It's never going to work. So hopefully, you know, I know that we ended up paying a bit more for Mount than we wanted, but there seems to be word coming out of the club that we don't want to be sort of bent over a barrel for players. If we end up paying 80 million for Rasmus Højlund, he could end up being worth it, but statistically speaking, he probably won't be. We need to be sort of stricter with these things, and it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 years for these things to level out, and eventually United are sort of on a par with some of these other players in terms of sales, but we have to do it, because otherwise we're just going to get we sink deeper and deeper, and who knows what might happen.
I still think we're in it a little bit. I think there's this idea that United have changed now.
No.
And it's a new regime, and we don't do these deals anymore, and we don't do these long-term lucrative contracts to players that are sort of coming towards the end of the career or whatever. Well, Eriksen was a 3-year deal, wasn't it? Now, I love Christian Eriksen. I think he's fantastic. But 3 years for a player that's 30, it's a similar kind of thing to what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm giving someone, but I know it's difficult because you're buying him from Brentford, who's a free agent, so you're trying to get him to sign. Yeah. So you maybe got to offer him a bit of a carrot, otherwise he might go elsewhere. But it still feels there's a little bit of an element of we still pay top whack. And I think we might have to with some players because you haven't got the law of, well, come to United, you're going to win a trophy.
Exactly.
You're going to win a title.
Fergie could say to Paul Scholes or Ryan Giggs or Gary Neville or Rio Ferdinand, I know you want a 2-year, 3-year deal, but if you're not good enough at the age of 31, we will get someone better. Yeah. And you want to play for us because you're probably going to win the Premier League. This is the thing, it all compounds on itself. So now we're not good enough to offer Christian Eriksen a 1-year deal because he'll go, well, I can get a 2-year deal at Spurs. Yeah. And in terms of league finishes, you're pretty much similar. Yeah. As much as it pains me to say it. So United have sort of messed it all up so far back that, like I said before, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to sort of soften this curve and come down. You can't instantly go, we don't do that anymore, because we've still got players on 350 grand.
Even Mason Mount's not coming in for pennies, is he?
No.
I'm not, in terms of his wages, I think he's on 250k a week, which is going to be...
It's a lot.
It's like the top end of Premier League earners. So you're in that sort of thing where you have to offer players more than just, you're playing for Manchester United, which used to be good enough to bring anyone in, basically. Right, should we move on anyway? Get involved in the comments chat. Let's hit that like button. We've almost got to 800 likes. Let's get to 1,000 likes. I think we can do this, Come on, people. Go on, Joe, I'll let you run through this.
Yeah, duo set for exit. Elanga and Tellez look set to leave Old Trafford this summer. Galatasaray are interested in signing Alex Tellez and Anthony Elanga from United, according to Turkish outlet Aksam. Left-back Tellez has already played for Galatasaray, making 60 appearances from January 2014 to August 2015, while forward Elanga is set to make the first permanent transfer of his career this summer. I think it's a shame whenever an academy player leaves, it deserves attention and it deserves not an applause necessarily, but a little bit of credit for coming through and doing what he's done at United. But I think most people would agree it's probably not. His level isn't challenging for Premier League titles, and if he can get game time at Galatasaray, I think that's a great move for him. Yeah,
I wish him well. I think he got badly mismanaged last season, the season before last. When he came through, he did okay, he did well, scored some goals, and he looked like an exciting young player. And he just got run into the ground. He got played when his confidence had gone, his form had deserted him, and he just kept getting picked. And there was a time when he was getting picked ahead of Marcus Rashford, which was ludicrous. It just was. People say, Marcus Rashford's form deserted him. And it did, but he's still Marcus Rashford. He's still a player that is capable of scoring 20-plus goals in a season. Anthony Elanga, you didn't even know if he was Premier League level. No. And it was just ridiculous that he was sort of forced into this situation where I think at one point he'd gone like 17 games without a goal. Now it's more. And he was still getting picked. And you just could see the sort of, it wasn't working out for him, and it felt on him a little bit. And yeah, it was a shame, and then fans are sort of like, Elanga, what's Elanga doing here? I don't blame Elanga. He's playing for a club that he's been at since he was a kid. He tried his best, did do well when he first come on, but it all went horribly wrong, and then we should have probably got rid of him in the summer, to be honest with you, because I don't really think he's done anything this season, or the season just gone, I should say. Yeah, but I do wish him well, and I think that, when he returns back to Old Trafford, if he comes back to Old Trafford playing against us, he'll get a decent reception, because he's just your typical player who was good for a spell, but wasn't good enough for Manchester United. And we've seen it with Pereira. Pereira went to Fulham and smashed it. People go, he's not even Premier League level, but actually he just wasn't Manchester United level. There is a difference, believe it or not. Yeah. So yeah, I wish Anthony Elanga well, and Alex Tellez, a player that it's almost like he was just brought in to give Luke Shaw a kick up the backside, really, wasn't it? Like, he was decent at set pieces, wasn't Premier League standard for me, defensively was all over the gaff, but quite a likeable player, do you know what I mean? I think he was a player you could sort of buy into because he could pick a pass and what have you. But neither of those two anywhere near the levels if we are going to kick on and have aspirations of moving up the table and challenging for titles. David Harrington says, did you see Dean Henderson's post saying good to be back? Do you think there's any chance he stays for his last year on his deal instead of spending big this summer?
I think it could be both. I think there's a world where we sign a new keeper, De Gea says, well, I'm not going to be second choice, and we keep Henderson as second choice. I think that's possible. But again,
will he stay though? Second choice. He spat his dummy out last time.
Yeah,
but I mean, like if he's like something Eric Ten Hag, you can sod off because I'm not doing this. Like Eric Ten Hag seems like the manager just get rid of him.
Yeah, and I think he's the perfect example of the sort of situation we were talking about before with when you're looking at those sales charts. We probably should have sold Dean Henderson 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because maybe he could have been good enough, but he was never given a chance. And if there was no willingness to give him a chance, why did we keep him? Now he's still probably worth 15, 20 million. He's proven-ish at Premier League level. He's pretty proven at Premier League level. I think that's fair to say. He's certainly a Premier League quality keeper. He's had multiple seasons in the Premier League and good enough, so that's without question. You probably get 20 million for him. Why try it again? Why do this, do that? If he's not ready, if he's not good enough for United, the mentality is in question with that whole thing last summer. Just get 15 million, move on. Because otherwise, you can leave him in the squad for another 2 years and he either leaves on a free or leaves for £4 million when he's not played for 18 months. Just sell him. It seems like what he wants as well.
Really disappointing for me with Henderson that he didn't want to stick around and try and fight for his place. Because I think he could have got a chance under Eric Ten Hag.
I definitely think he would.
I think when there was certain games when David De Gea was all over the gaff and we couldn't play out from the back, had he stuck around and been in training and been giving his all and showing the manager what he's about, the manager might have given him a few cup games and thought, actually, this kid's more about what I'm about. But he didn't. He was like, I didn't think he stayed. I think he left before Ten Hag arrived because he said, I don't want him to see me because he might keep me on. And then gave that awful interview.
I think he would have started against Liverpool after the Brighton and Brentford games. I honestly think he might have had a chance.
Like Malacia did. Yeah. Like he brought in a few different players, didn't he? And if Dean Henderson starts that game against Liverpool and we win, then he's probably in the team for at least a few games, and then maybe that gets the ball rolling again. Because let's not forget, he got into the team ahead of David De Gea under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer until I think he caught COVID. He was first choice, so it was just really stupid, I think, from Dean Henderson to go down this path that he's gone down. And he might get a move to Nottingham Forest and it'll all work out for him. But I just think he sort of sabotaged himself at United. He didn't need to do that. But he's back in training. Stranger things have happened than Dean Henderson sticking around at Manchester United Football Club. So we'll wait and see what happens. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this podcast as well. You can go and check out. There's a link in the description there as well. And if you're not doing, make sure you are hitting subscribe. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers. And with your support, we can do it. We should put a link in the chat to subscribe as well while we're at it. Joe, where can people find you?
Sloppy Joe's podcast coming out in about 10 minutes. So check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast.
Check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast as well. We've also got, people were asking earlier about Stephen Howson, saying they've not seen him on the channel for a little while and when's Howson coming back on. So fear not, because he's done a video today. Was it with you as well?
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
We're talking about Mason Mount, what Steve thinks of the Mason Mount transfer. Will it work at United? Where will he fit in at United? And how will it all shake out? And that'll be at 7 o'clock tonight, so make sure you go and check that out.
Right, 7 o'clock tonight, Stephen Howson. Go and check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast. There's a link in the description, a link in the chat to subscribe to the channel. That's been Joe, I've been Jay. This has been Transfers Live. Thanks for watching.